In the heart of Florence, where candlelight flickered against marble walls and the scent of jasmine clung to the air, Selene Veyra moved like a shadow among mortals. The grand ballroom was alive with music, laughter, and the rustle of silk gowns, but none of it interested her. Tonight she had a singular focus: Luca Albinoni. He stood across the room, his hands calloused from years of sculpting, his jawline sharp as the statues he carved. He was a man of strength and passion, untainted by the pretenses of aristocratic life. Selene had been watching him for weeks, his dedication to his craft, the way his muscles rippled as he worked, and the raw masculinity that emanated from him. He was perfect. Dressed in a crimson gown that clung to her body like a second skin, Selene stepped forward. Conversation ceased as eyes turned to her, captivated. Men stared, spellbound by her beauty, while women exchanged whispered jealousies. Selene didn't care. This was the power she wielded effortlessly, the gift or curse of her eternal existence. When her gaze locked with Luca's, he froze, his breath caught in his throat, his glass of wine forgotten in his hand. Selene's lips curved into a soft, inviting smile. It was enough. He came to her as if drawn by an invisible thread. "You're not from Florence," he said, his voice low, hesitant. "Perhaps I am," Selene replied, her voice like velvet. "Or perhaps I've simply been waiting for you." His cheeks flushed and Selene leaned closer, her breath warm against his ear. "Let's leave this crowd. I'd rather see where you create such wonders." Luca swallowed hard but nodded. Together they slipped out into the cool night, the moonlight casting a silvery glow over the cobblestone streets. Luca's workshop was modest, filled with unfinished sculptures and tools scattered haphazardly. The scent of stone dust lingered in the air. Selene wandered through the room, her fingers brushing over the marble forms. "You sculpt strength," she murmured, admiring a statue of a warrior mid-battle. "Do you see yourself in these creations?" Luca laughed nervously. "I suppose I try to capture what I admire." Selene turned to him, her crimson eyes smoldering. "And what do you admire, Luca?" For a moment he seemed to forget himself. He stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "Beauty, passion." "Then show me," she said, her voice dripping with challenge. The night unfolded like a dream. Luca's hands, so skilled in shaping unyielding stone, trembled as they touched her. Selene guided him, her movements fluid and deliberate, her touch electrifying. She was unlike anything he had ever experienced, wild yet tender, fierce yet intoxicatingly gentle. Hours passed in a haze of passion, Luca utterly lost in her. But Selene's mind was elsewhere, lingering on the hunger that burned within her. When the first rays of dawn began to creep through the window, Selene sat beside him, her hand tracing the curve of his jaw. Luca stared up at her, his eyes filled with something between love and fear. "What are you?" he whispered, his voice trembling. Selene tilted her head, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Something older than you can imagine. Something that craves more than just your body." Before he could respond, she leaned down, her lips brushing against his neck. Then her fangs pierced his skin, and Luca gasped. The pain was sharp but fleeting, replaced by a wave of ecstasy that left him breathless. Selene drank deeply, savoring the taste of his life force. His heartbeat slowed, his body growing weaker in her arms. When she was done, she pulled back, her lips stained crimson. She wiped them delicately with a finger, her expression unreadable. Luca lay still, his eyes half closed, his strength drained. "You were magnificent," she whispered, placing a single red rose beside him. "Thank you." As the sun rose over Florence, Selene walked the empty streets, the taste of Luca's blood still lingering on her tongue. She felt no guilt, only a faint melancholy that always followed these encounters. By the time the city woke, she was gone, a shadow once more. Her destination was already chosen. "Venice," she murmured to herself, her lips curling into a wicked smile. "I hear the masquerades are delightful." And with that, she vanished into the coming night, leaving behind nothing but whispers of her presence and the ghost of her passion.